This is the 49er Power Hour. I am Sasha D. Robinson, your host for today, as we discuss topics ranging from the 49ers and expectations, how things are going. This is going to be lovely, isn't it? This is going to be very lovely. We are a couple of weeks away from training camp where players report in, and I know out there within the Empire, a lot of fans are excited. I'm on message boards. I see on social media pages, everyone is really excited about this upcoming season. I am also, why not, why lie about it? The 49ers have found, they were real close. And even though, despite the score of of how they lost against the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, I'm not blind. I'm nowhere blind to thinking that this team is not up for contention. They're a quarterback away, and Brock Purdy was knocked out. Quarterback Brock Purdy, the rookie sensation, came in for relief to spell Jimmy Garoppolo against and he came in and in that Tampa Bay game. And he got knocked out on the 49ers first drive, and they didn't have a quarter. Well, they technically did with Josh Johnson, and he went out. It never fails. The 49ers were always quarterback away since, and let's just say, even let's go back to 2012, 2013, when the 49ers lost to Baltimore. Yeah, Colin Kaepernick put on a masterful possible comeback, but there were certain decisions that he made that you would have to ask yourself, Colin, why did you not go to Randy Moss? Down there, when you're throwing the ball to everybody else, but Randy Moss, one of the greatest receivers out there, have him do what he does best, and that is outbody anybody. Drop back, toss it to him, and that could have been 6. Just do a jump ball. I would have went to Randy. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I would have went to Randy. I would have went to him in a flipping heartbeat. I love it, but the 49ers are how can I say, they're a quarterback away from a Super Bowl, and it showed against Philly. So am I excited? I'm excited about this upcoming season because of all the reports coming in from the way how Trey Lance has looked. When he went to quarterback Q, he went with Patrick Mahomes, trained with him. Everything has been raving. There's been reports saying how good he's been looking, his footwork, his release, everything about him has been looking good. So why not? Brock Purdy is coming in looking. He's starting to throw after his surgery. And so you're seeing everything has been coming into play. And not to mention one person who may be, and I'm telling you right now, who may be the wild card, and that's Sam Darnold. And we're going to circle back to all 3 of these guys later. But beforehand, let's talk football for a moment. I know this is the 49er Power Hour, but I want to talk football. Because I was watching the 1987 America's game, 1987 Washington Redskins, and how the Redskins, they were having their quarterback controversy between Jay Schrader and Doug Williams, and how Russ Grimm was unhappy or was it Jeff? I think it was Jeff Bostic. I'm sorry, Jeff Bostic was unhappy. Daryl Green, these guys were out there phenomenal. That everybody knows about the second quarter explosion that of the Super Bowl. But one thing that people were not talking about was the offensive line. See, my fiance, she loves the Redskins, and as a Redskin fan, she doesn't like the name Commanders. She feels that that name is just really it's stupid. So, and she was like, "Why not call them the Hogs?" And I'm like, that would make better sense if you don't like the name Commander. If you don't like the name Commanders, go with something that could be more related to the Washington to that area. And the Hogs made better sense. Now, if you don't know why we're saying the Hogs was the Washington Redskins. The name of the Washington Redskins offensive line, and they were one of the best offensive lines. Everybody, if you go to their games when they were playing at RFK, they were having hog heads and everything like that. They were called the Hogs, and I was like, that makes sense. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because back in 1992, the Hogs they were rampant. Those guys were just all over God's green earth, and they were just dominant. Mark Rippon, my counterpart, Aaron, he let it be known that Mark Rippon got the power of all of NFL Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and he just unloaded on the league in the 92-93 season. And was it 91-92? No, it was 91-92. I'm sorry, because 92-93 the Cowboys won. 91-92 season, and he was MVP. It was like he couldn't miss. He seemed like he was unstoppable. Because I was looking at his numbers, and he won I will pull up the numbers right here for about the 1991 Redskins, and his numbers for the at the time were great, because again, remember, this wasn't a passing league. It was more of a just it was more run based. It was not passing. So when you look at stuff like Mark Rippon, he threw for 28 touchdowns and 11 picks. People say 28 touchdowns. Remember, the league was not like that. It was not as open as it was. He threw for 3,500 touch yards, and he started all 16 games. Ernest Biner rushed for over 1,000, and Ricky Irvin went for 680. So they had two rushers that went for over 500 yards. Went over 500 yards rushing. Receiving, they had two 1,000 yard receivers. Gary Clark went for 1,340, and Art Monk went for 1,049. Ricky Irvin was behind them with 580. So you had these three receivers, but it all starts with the Hogs, and they dominated. The offensive line was really unsung, and nobody ever talks about them. So I have to ask myself, which offensive line was better? The Hogs or the Great Wall of Dallas? I know, again, I know, why are you talking this when it's all this? But this is football. This is what we love to do. I'm all 49ers. That's just it. Nothing in my head. I got it tattooed on me. But you know what? I'm a football fan also. I love the sport. So let's talk. Let's for a moment. Let's talk sports. Who had the best offensive line? The Great Wall of Dallas, the 1993 Dallas Cowboys offensive line, or the Hogs, the 1991-92 Redskins? I gave you the numbers for the Redskins and how they did, because they went 14-2 all the way to the Super Bowl and dominated against the Buffalo Bills. How they won 37-24, and the score was not as close as you thought it was, because the game was pretty much over with. The Bills were not going to really come back on that game. They were dominated all over the place. They abused those guys. Now you can honestly, you have to ask yourself this question: which was the offensive line? Because I can't, as much as I love the 49ers offensive line, I love Steve Wallace. I love Harris Barton. I love Jesse Sapolo. I've met the man, and I even told him I was fanboying over him. But let's not be ignorant to the fact. Let's not be ignorant. The 49ers did not have a dominant offensive line as these two teams that I'm bringing up here. The Dallas Cowboys, they've had a dominant offensive line back in '92. Everybody says that they were. Everybody brings up that scenario. Well, if Barry Sanders had that offensive line, he'd have way over. He would have blasted that rushing title, and he would be the all-time rushing leader and all this. Well, you know what? He probably could have. He more than likely could have. That offensive line was parting the Red Sea on that football field. So it possibly could have. You are absolutely right. But the problem is that Emmitt Smith is the all-time rushing leader, and you see what he did. You saw in those games where he would just hit the hole. Daryl Johnston would just smash, and then he would just go, and then he would get off to second level. Nobody's going to want to touch him. It was like you were waiting for it because you knew it was going to happen. The Cowboys' offensive line was led by Eric Williams. They had Mark Tuinei. They had what is this? What is that weedhead's name who went to jail because he couldn't because of Nate Newton, Mark Stepnoski. They had Kevin Gogan. They had some monsters out there. Now with the thing that with Dallas, they had Troy Aikman. Now remember, his numbers were not what you think they were. That year he threw for over 3,100 yards, but he had 15 touches and 6 picks. Emmett went for 1,486, but he missed a couple of games. But he missed a couple of games that year. That couple of games because of a contract. Michael Irvin went for over 1,300 for receiving and 7 touches. So I mean, you know that the Cowboys' offense was not as explosive. Like I was just telling you about the Redskins, the Hogs. The Hogs' offense was explosive. Dallas, you knew they were dominant, and you knew they put up numbers because of their defense, and you knew their defense was just all over the place. It's just their offense. I just gave you a couple of numbers. Troy Aikman was definitely that game manager. Nobody ever talks about. They make it seem like he was like on Dan Marino's level of slinging throwing the rock. No, he was definitely a game manager, people. There have been a couple of games when they ask him, hey, you need to drop back over 35, 40 times, he'll do it, but he was a game manager. Emmitt Smith was our heart and soul. He led the team with 283 rushes, 1486, 9 touches. Come on. But it was all led by the Great Wall of Dallas. Now, I'm not fanboying because if you ask me right now, I love the Hogs. I'm going to go with the Hogs about that because the Hogs, they had a really good offensive line themselves. Again, and they were led by the Hogs. They had some monsters out there. They're led by Jim Lachey, Riley McKenzie, Jeff Bostic, Mark Schlereth, and Joe Jacoby. So you knew what those guys were capable of. I really like Joe Jacoby because he looked like, if you look at Joe Jacoby, he looked like somebody who just did like no one. And it's so it's you have to ask yourself, which was the best one? My money's going to go with the Hogs, even though Dallas. Everybody lets it be known what Dallas was capable of. But you know something? I'm going with the Hogs. But I'd like to hear from you. What do you think? Again, we're talking football. I know it's a 49er Power Hour. But let's talk football. Now back to the Power Hour. The 49ers will now be will be reporting to camp. When they report to camp in a couple of weeks, my question to you all is, what is your expectations of this team? This is a Super Bowl team, so if your expectations are not Super Bowl, then you have to ask yourself a question: why are you watching? Why are you here as a 49er fan? This is it. This is a Super Bowl. It would be a disappointing season. Coach Shanahan has really put together a really good roster. You can see. I don't ever hear anyone over there talking about, I want my money, I want my money. You have Nick Bosa, arguably the best defensive player. It's arguably, I'm not going to say he is. You have him arguably the best defensive player in the league because he was the defensive player of the year for last year. And he's not making a big deal. You see all these pundits talking about his upcoming contract and extension. He can be the highest paid defensive player. He's just saying, hey, it'll get done. Because you know what? When you talk contracts, that can possibly, how can I say, put in a dynamic, put a rift in your locker room when you have everything clicking. You have everybody coming to camp. You have everybody there. You have people sitting, coming to practice. They're happy to be there. You have George Kittle, who is raving about all three quarterbacks, about how happy he is to play with them. And you know what? This is, like I said, the 49ers were like what? We're a quarterback away from playing in the Super Bowl. Let's be for real here, because the Eagles won. Hats off. The Eagles were the NFC championships. We're NFC champions. As much as I may not like them, that's it. They won. Congratulations. But let's be honest. They were not going to beat the 49ers that day. They were not going to beat the 49ers that day. There was no way they were not going to beat the 49ers that day. So 49ers are so according to FanSide, the 49ers are going to be camp on July the 18th with rookies reporting. The veterans will be reporting on July the 25th. So this is just a couple weeks. And I'm I'm just really excited for this. With the 49ers, they are really ready for they're really ready to to really looks like they're ready to just say forget it, let's go and get this. And they did this in the draft. And one thing that I can honestly say, I can say that the 49ers with their draft, what they did their draft, it's like they plugged in some needs. One is from Jair Brown, the third round draft pick from Penn State. I'm surprised that he fell this far. Because he can be, because again, he can possibly be a a star going in, just like what they got with Hofunga as well. When he finally got his start, he came out. He didn't come from out of nowhere because we knew what he was capable of. But we see that what it is. So with Jair Brown and Hofunga, that can be a good 1-2 combination because as much as I like Tyshawn Gibson, he could be on the downside of his career. He's coming off a six interception season. But when you have a young guy like Brown, if he comes in and makes some plays, watch out. Now, then they draft Jake Moody, and at first I was kind of skeptical as to why the 49ers drafted a kicker. Now let me go ahead and explain this. They signed I'm trying to get his name. they signed a kicker during free agency. And what happened was, and so during the draft, they're over, because I'm with the 49er web zone, and I'm over here in their group, and after they had Jair Brown, I'm thinking offensive line, because they lost Mike McGlinchey, and I'm thinking, you're gonna probably want to shore up that right side because Mike McGlinchey we don't have anyone to just come in like, okay, good, we got Mike, we got that. So I'm thinking offensive line. That's all that I'm saying, offensive line. So they draft Jair Brown. I'm just like, okay. So I'm like, okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I like the Jair Brown pick, but I'm more, again. This is why I'm not in the war room. I'm looking at it as we lost someone. We need to plug. Unless you feel like somebody else is good enough there. So they draft him. So I'm like, okay, fine. And then they turn around and the 49ers during free agency signed Zane Gonzalez. And then they turn around and draft Jake Moody. So I'm like, you guys just drafted Zane, so why are you drafting Jake Moody? One of the writers, he said, hey, if you have the chance to get one of the best kickers in the country, why not get him? And I'm thinking, that's true, but again, you just signed Zane Gonzalez. Zane was was a pretty good kicker, so I'm like, okay, it's like one of those, do you or do you not? So then they get him, turn around and get Kamala too, Now, I did like Cameron too because again, I love George Kittle. I love George. But you gotta have. But I think that the 49ers are gonna need to want to look into getting a tight end that can really match his intensity. So that if he misses some games, you don't just have a tight end just to come in, but somebody who can be able to play up to George Kittle, the way how he plays, his athleticism, his speed, the way how you have to adjust to George. You would have to do the same thing, and Cameron too could probably be able to do that as well. Now I know that the 49ers also drafted Braden Willis as well. So and he was drafted in the 7th round, so that could be another one. Now the pick that I love the most, and I'm sorry I'm not going to go over all of the rookies, but I love this D Winters pick. I don't know if you guys realize this, but the 49ers don't. All the two 49er linebackers that they have on their roster, right? I mean, the two starting ones, with they were not like they were not high picks. They came in and they did a real good serviceable job. So you had Fred Warner and you had Dre Greenlaw. Fred came out of BYU, and you had Fred Warner. Fred Warner came out of BYU. Dre Greenlaw came out of Arkansas. And Fred, he was what? If he was, it was a third round pick. He wasn't drafted high. Dre Greenlaw, I know he came out. He came out at a low pick as well, but Dre had that intensity, that play coming out of Arkansas. So I mean, it was not like he was just he came out of the 5th round out of Arkansas. But he had that intensity. He had all that. I remember watching a couple of games because down here we get a whole bunch of SEC, Big 12 games. So I watched a couple of Arkansas games, and I loved the way how Dre Greenlaw played. So when the 49ers got him, I loved that pick. So now when I see the Winters, because again, to watch a bunch of TCU games, I'm thinking, yes, I love this pick. Now, there's a lot of other picks out here that that people you're gonna say like, well, you missed this guy, and they got this one. They got Robert Beal from Georgia, Darrell Luter, but this is not a rookie review. I just want to say that, just want to be able to say certain players for the 49ers got. I like what they got. I'm still, I like the Jake Moody pick, but I'm just on the fence still of that. If you sign Zane Gonzalez, then you draft Jake Moody, what are we going to do here? Now I know what they're going to probably do. Let's not be ignorant to this. They're probably going to Zane is probably going to be on the outs. So let's not be ignorant. They signed him to a 2-year deal. And Zane is probably going to be on the outs. They probably signed Zane just to make sure, like, okay, we have a kicker, and he's probably so we got him, and so that's fine. But then when Jake Moody came along, like, oh, we might as well just go ahead and get this guy. Jake Moody is a prominent kicker coming out of Michigan. So if you you may want to check out some of his highlights. YouTube has a plethora where you can be able to see highlights of it. So I was looking at a lot of these guys' highlights when they got drafted. Some of the games I didn't see, and like, okay, because when you're engaged or you are involved with someone, you just don't have the luxury of doing the thing that you used to do. There were games, like a lot of college games but I was out and about, and I missed some games. So I'm over here kicking myself, and I let my fiance know, hey, I'm not. This is getting kind of ridiculous. I'm missing some games here. I'm used to doing this, and now I'm spending my time doing other things. So she's aware, and she's strongly aware about that. I missed some good games. I missed some really good games, and I didn't get to watch a lot of these guys. Now Ronnie Bell, this is probably one of those picks that I really I really am thinking that the 49ers, he's going to come out of nowhere. I'm not a fan of Michigan receivers. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a fan of Michigan receivers because it's never felt that when Michigan has some good receivers, if your name is Mario Manningham, you don't live up to the hype. Braylon Edwards, you can definitely see his name right there. So when I saw the name Ronnie Bell come up, I'm just like, really? Okay, he's a 6 foot receiver coming out. Michigan really didn't light up the world passing. So don't get me up on this, but we'll definitely see where they go with that. I said that this wasn't going to be a rookie review, and I'm sitting here reviewing the rookies and all this. Now the 49ers did now this is where I think everybody's wanting to know what are the Niners going to do, and that is going to be the quarterback room. That's a good question. I was starting to write an article for the Web Zone, and I wanted to say the 49ers are in a conundrum because they're in a perfect position to make a horrible decision, which is going to be in a good way, because they have 3 good quarterbacks on their roster that you're going to have to fight with to be like, okay, who do we start? That is a good question. You have Sam Darnold. Again, we'll start with him. Sam Darnold came out was the 3rd overall pick in the 2018 NFL draft. He was drafted high. He was projected to be number 1 going to Cleveland, but then you saw Cleveland. They went ahead and took Baker Mayfield. We saw how that goes. But you had Sam Darnold go to the Jets. Now, the thing is that with Sam Darnold coming out, he went to a really poor looking Jets team. They didn't have the roster. They didn't have the roster to be able to how can I say, help a kid grow. That's one thing that I always say, and I've tell anyone. When you draft a quarterback, you just don't draft him and just say, go out there and win games. You got to put him in the best situation so that he can win. Now, before I can continue, I'm of this mindset of I don't like hearing people talk about certain players and make it seem like people are a bunch of scrubs. They make it seem like this, like it's this guy here and everybody else are a bunch of scrubs. Like how they make it seem like Tom Brady, he didn't have anyone. Negro, these guys were they're a bunch of NFL players. They had someone, they just aren't good. I don't like that. I don't like that because then you have to make it seem like they have to play with all stars and all these other guys, and you just basically call these guys a bunch of no ones. They made it to the NFL. They are players. You know something? These guys had dreams and aspirations just like the next man to play in this league, and they made it. But the thing is, when you have a young quarterback and your team is so miscombobulated, and you're trying to get everything together, you're not going to work if your team is just so out. It's just so out of whack. You're not going to have your team grow. The Jets went 4-12 that year, but Sam Darnold had a pretty good year, I guess, for a rookie. He threw for 28, 65, 17 touchdowns and 15 picks. And then the next year they had Adam Gase. They went 7-9. He had another pretty good year. Then they had COVID, and Sam Darnold sucked. I think the Jets brass just seemed like they just saw enough of Sam Darnold. But my thing is that I don't think that the Jets really, built their roster around a young kid to be able to flourish. You're not going to win when you don't have it. The Jets now, they have a pretty good roster. And Robert Saleh as well. They have a good running game. They're able to protect now Aaron Rodgers, but they weren't willing to do that when you draft a kid. They had him, and then they had Zach Wilson. They weren't trying to develop these guys. They were too busy just throwing them out there like this is Madden. It doesn't work that way. You got to develop the guys, put them in a situation where they can be able to learn how to win and be able to win. Now, this is why, or I'm going back, I'm starting with Sam Darnold because I think he's in the perfect situation now. Because the thing is this, I want to focus more on his weakness. And his weakness is coming out of the draft. They said that there were certain things that did. His ball dropped to his waist, his wind up, his muscle memory. He turned the ball over. Decision making, field vision is inconsistent. Too much mustard on short throws. Willing to throw for uneven platform. Deep ball touch needs work. Took sacks when incompletions were available. See, these are things that if he had a coach, certain thing like this could have been worked on. Kyle Shanahan can probably fix certain things that's going on with him. And he's in the perfect situation because, again, you got a team around you. You have the perfect running game. And you saw what happened when he was. I don't know if you guys realize this, but they were like last year, Carolina. Even though people were starting to write them off, like they weren't a good team and yada yada yada, blah blah blah. They weren't a good team. But this is the thing, though. They went 7-10, and they could have snuck into the playoffs. I don't know if y'all realize this. They almost snuck into the playoffs. They started winning. They won a couple of games. They won, lost. There are a couple of games that they could have won. They could have beat Pittsburgh down the stretch. I'm going down the stretch. When they started winning, doing this win-loss, trade-off wins and losses, because they beat Tampa Bay on week 7. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at the games that Baker Mayfield was in, because I remember Baker came in. Not Baker. Sorry, Sam Darnold came in relief, and I know that they won six games. They won. He started 6 games. So it wasn't a game against Baltimore. Let me see. Was it against Denver? let me see. The game against Denver when they started trading off the wins and losses. They almost beat Denver 20. They beat Denver 23-10. They didn't ask of him to do that. They didn't ask Sam to do a lot. He threw for 164, one touchdown, but it was Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard's running game. That's the thing right there, and that's the key thing right there. They started grounding. They started pounding the ball. They started running the ball, keeping the ball out of Sam Darnold's hands. Let the game come to him. You don't go to the game. Don't try to force you to do something. You're in the perfect situation. Then they beat the Panthers 30 to 24. I mean, not the Panthers. They beat the Seabags. Yeah, I said Seabags. 30 to 24. And again, this was all on the running game. Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Foreman had 74 yards rushing each. Sam only threw for 120. You didn't ask of him. You kind of get where I'm going with this. You put him in the situation. Yeah, you could say like, well, you're telling him tell me that he's a game manager. Yeah, but you see what happens when you put a good running game in there. He's able to just be. You're not asking him to sit back and drop 35 times. Let the running game take control. The 49ers have that running game, so you can be able to protect your quarterback. And plus, and if he is going to throw the ball, you got those three monsters out there, and Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle, and then you can throw the ball to Christian McCaffrey. So I mean, he's in a perfect situation, but nobody's thinking about that. They're looking at what Sam Darnold had when he was playing in the Jets with the Jets in Carolina. But let's be honest, those weren't good teams. Let's just be for real here. Those weren't good teams. They weren't playoff contention. Well, the Jets were almost when they were 7-9. They were possibly 7-9 the 19th season, the 2019. But still, they were not a good team. Now let's fast forward to Brock Purdy. This is where everybody is in love with. Everybody is in love with Brock Purdy. He came in relief of Jimmy Garoppolo in the game against the Dolphins. Everybody was nervous about it. He came in. He did a serviceable job, and from that point, he won over the Bay Area. I'm on the I don't know. The reason why I'm on the I don't know just yet, because I want to say this is me being hopeful, and as much as I hate comparing, but he's in the perfect situation. Little did anybody know or remember when Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. came in and relief for Drew Bledsoe. The Patriots won by good defense and a good running game. You didn't ask Tom Brady to sit back and throw the ball all over the place. Just like what I was saying with Sam Darnold. At that time, you let the game come to you. You don't go to the game. And in the back of my mind, I was saying this seems like what the 49ers are doing with the same thing with Brock Purdy. Brock did not light up the world. During the regular season, his highest passing game was 284, and that was against the Raiders. And that's because they were forced to throw the ball all over the place because the Raiders were bringing it to the 49ers. I was going home let me back up. So my brothers had got tickets to the Cotton Bowl, and I was supposed to go to the go watch the Cotton Bowl with them. My brother had won tickets. We're gonna go, but unfortunately, the events happened. I couldn't make it. So my uncle got tickets to the Houston Texans and Jacksonville game. Now at this time, I'm starting to think, hey, Jacksonville looks like a little pretty good team, and Houston looks like crap. Yeah, let's go watch this. I want to at least say that I saw a Trevor Lawrence game. I'm thinking Trevor Lawrence is going to light him up, but no, it was actually Travis Etienne who went to town on him. But that's a different story. Houston Texans were garbage. Everybody there was spending more time on their phone because the Houston Texans couldn't do crap. But I digress. But we were on our way home, and I'm sitting here driving, looking at updates of this game, of the 49er Raiders game, and I'm seeing the Raiders were taking it to the 49ers. They are taking it. And I'm like, what is going on here? The Raiders are really doing this? Jared Stidham is getting his start against his vaunted 49er defense, and he's sitting here looking like world beaters? Where is this coming from? But Brock Purdy, they put the ball in his hands, and he threw forward 35 times, 284, 2 touchdowns. He did have a pick, but he didn't falter down there in Las Vegas. So I'm over here like, I want to be like this, yeah. Then in the playoffs against the Seabags, he 18 of 30, 332 and 3 touchdowns against the Seabags, and I hate the Seabags. Nobody knows I can't stand them. I redid my hate list, and they're number 2 because I can't put them over the Los Angeles Rams. They beat the Cowboys. 2 teams, but you see, the Cowboys fell off my hate list, so I can't. The reason why they fell off my hate list. Let me back up. I'm not saying I like the Cowboys. Again, just don't care for them. They're not relevant anymore for me to care anymore. Let's just be. I hated them, and I hated them with a passion. But after years of the 49er Cowboy rivalry is not the same. It's just not there. You don't have that fire. Like if I see someone wearing a Cowboy jersey, I'm like, ah! It's like, sorry to see you wearing that piece of crap on your shirt, and on your body. So the rivalry's not there anymore. Now I don't want to want the 49ers to lose, because if they do, I got to hear these damn fans, and it's just like, oh my God, shut up. But it's one of those. So you got to give that with Brock Purdy. I was about to say Brock Heward, because I was watching some college highlights. And if you don't know, Brock Heward, he was a quarterback. He was a quarterback for the Washington Huskies. He did have a stint in the NFL. So I'm sorry, I was about to say Brock Heward, but Brock Purdy came in and did a serviceable job. The reason why I'm on the fence on that is because I don't want to be overhyped. Because again, it'd be like, oh, Brock Purdy's the answer. Brock Purdy's the answer. But again, he's doing a good job because he's in position to do a good job. That's just it. They're not putting just like what I'm anticipating what Sam Darnold, what the 49ers would do if Sam Darnold were to start. You're not asking Sam to just sit back and drop back 40 times, 30, 40 times a game. You're asking him to hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, dump it. You could throw a couple of short passes, You're going to put Debo Samuel in the backfield. You're going to you're not asked to sit there and be like Aaron Rodgers or Joe Burrow. You're asked to just be that game manager, that facilitator, that point guard. Just slow the game down. And that's the thing what they're doing with Brock Purdy. Brock has definitely done that. Now my thing is this: I don't want it to be a fluke. That's where my fear comes in. Is that this whole thing may be a fluke, where it's like he's just, like he comes in and he lights the storm up. Everybody's happy about him. They buy the number 13 jersey. He's electric, and then he comes in, and then he looks like. Then he shows everybody why he was Mr. Relevant, Mr. Irrelevant. And then the 49ers are scrambling like, what are we going to do now? You're a quarterback away. And now we're going to go to Trey Lance. And while I was writing this article, I'm thinking, like I said, Trey Lance is coming back off that injury. And he is hit the ground running. He's looking good with his footwork. You're hearing all these reports coming out about him, saying how he's got better touch, how he's just looking better than ever. And this is my thing. We don't have a lot of tape to go on Trey. He started 4 games. He started against the Cardinals, the Texans, the Bears, and the Seabags. 4 games. They could have beaten the Cardinals his first game. They beat the Texans. Texans were a horrible team. They lost to Chicago in horrible conditions. Then he went out in the second drive against the Seabags. So you don't have that much to go on with him. Yeah, he came in spots his rookie season, and you're gonna be like, yeah, Trey Lance, he did this, but you want to be able to see more from him. And you're seeing all these reports. Well, you want to trade Trey Lance. Well, you trade him. Why? You mortgage your whole freaking. You mortgaged everything just to get him. Me personally, I would have rather gotten Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields, even though my counterpart didn't like him. I like Justin Fields. I thought he was more ready, and I thought that he could have been able to come into the situation with this team where he didn't have to worry about a project, because Trey Lance was a project, but you got Trey Lance, so now you're going to have to look at how are you going to fix the situation. The best thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to let him start. And the only reason why you do that is because you gave up all those first round picks for this guy. Yeah, Brock Purdy came in and he did a good job. What you can do is you don't want to rush him back. See, just imaginarily, just Brock's not ready to come back, and let Trey start for about a good couple of games. See how he looks, and if he looks just terrible, then you could probably go to Sam or bring Brock back. The thing is this: you have to see what you have in Trey Lance. You have a possibility with Brock Purdy, but he's coming off of an injury where you don't want to throw him out there right away. Even though that he may be back and he's throwing and everything, if this guy is your answer, don't throw him back out there just yet. Start with Trey Lance. See if he is what he is. And if the 49ers look even stellar than anything like that. Now you're in a conundrum because you don't want to trade Trey Lance to somebody, and then he comes back to haunt you. You got to find out what you have. That's the big thing. You got to find out with what you have. Because I can see this now. The 49ers can probably be like, well, we're going to ride with Sam Darnold, with Brock Purdy, and we're going to go ahead and trade Trey Lance to the Buccaneers because Baker Mayfield isn't going to do anything. So let's go ahead and they something. And then that man goes over there and he starts he lights up everything. They put a team around them, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, even though that they may be coming down the pike, but they start having a connection. They put a good running game around him. He's just electric, and then he makes 49ers lives miserable. Then you're like, wow, why did we keep him? Well, y'all wanted Brock Purdy. You gotta find out what you got in Trey Lance. But the truth is, the 49ers, whoever they put behind center, it can be any, I think that they all have the best chance. Because of every situation, the main thing is just like what I said. You don't have to ask your quarterback to do much. But the problem is that you gotta ask your quarterback to do much, because there's going to come a situation when they do put the ball in the quarterback's hands. We saw in that game against the Raiders, when you put the ball in Brock Purdy's hands, you saw that what he's capable of doing. I like Sam Darnold, but if the 49ers going to face a buzzsaw like the Kansas City Chiefs, will they be able to go toe-to-toe with that high-powered Kansas City Chiefs offense? Or, hypothetically speaking, because my brother's a Bills fan, 49ers and the Bills will they go toe-to-toe with a Josh Allen offense? Or Joe Burrow? As much as the defense may get, because the Bengals' offensive line sucks, but it's all about, can you go toe-to-toe with these guys? That's the biggest question. I believe that the 49ers can win with these three, but because of the fact that the 49ers have one of the best complete teams in all of the NFL. They have it from top to bottom, from the quarterback position all the way down to the punter. They have it. The problem is that, do they have that quarterback that is that when it's time, we are down, or this is a shootout, the defense cannot save us. This is on you now. We need you to get us out of this game. Are you able to sit back, drop back, and make those crucial throws? Make those plays. Get down the field. Don't just check down. Are you able to do that? The 49ers are able to do that. The 49ers offense is capable of averaging 35 a game. Easy. The problem is that when it gets into those games, are you able to go toe to toe? I like Sam Darnold, but I don't think Sam can be able to do that. Is able to do that. Trey Lance, I don't know. Brock Purdy, we saw one glimpse of him doing that when they played the Seahawks. The 49er defense took over that game, and then the Seahawks just fell apart. and he went to town on their secondary. That the Seabags they took a halftime lead. Dallas fell right into San Francisco's hands with making it a defensive game. But when there was those crucial plays, Brock showed why he's a rookie. That's the question that we should all be asking ourselves. Which one of these three are going to be able to, if you have to play to the level of the other opposing offense, which of these three is going to be able to make these big plays, to be able to match up, to lead the offense? That's the $1 billion question we should all be asking. Saw Brock do it one time. Sam, much as I may like him in this system, I wouldn't ask him to do that, and we don't know what the 49ers have with Trey Lance. That's why I think that you need to find out with what you have with Trey Lance, because you don't want to get rid of someone, then you find out that he is that guy. And Brock Purdy can probably be the Steve Young or Steve Bono of the group, who's a good, serviceable guy, and then he can probably go somewhere else, and then Trey Lance can probably be that guy, and he can be that number one, who everybody say Trey Area. I think that's just stupid saying. Why would you say Trey Area? I think I like Ice Trey a lot better, even though that they say, oh no, they can't call him Ice Trey. Yeah, I'll call him Ice Trey. Ice Trey is not trademarked. But these are questions that you have to ask yourself going into training camp for the 49ers. What about this? The running game is going to be stacked. The 49ers have one of the best 1-2 combinations in Samuel and AU. And then you're going to have to see who's going to be able to spell them afterwards. Number 3, 4, 5, and 6. You have George Kittle, and then you have some good solid tight ends who they drafted. The offensive line, that's going to probably be the missing piece. But from reports that I was seeing, Colton McKissick is going to be coming in for Mike McGlinchey. So he's going to be the guy. They're moving him over to the right tackle spot. Defensive line is probably the best, especially with signing the Javon Hargrove and Nick Bosa, and then you have Arik Armstead. And, oh my God! Then they signed Clelin Ferrell. Oh my great googly moogly. Then the linebackers and the second. Come on, man! This has got to be. I just went down the list of of everything that the 49ers have. And I mean, on the defense side is going to be a monster. The offensive side is going to be a monster. But it's just that one guy, just that quarterback position that's been plaguing the 49ers. That's where you're going to have to wonder who is going to be that guy, who's going to take up the reins, who's going to say, F it, follow me, we're going to the promised land. I don't know what they got in I don't know what they got with Trey Lance, so I can't say that. But if you have Trey Lance, you gotta find out with what he has. Brock, you have a good idea. Sam Darnold, he can possibly resurrect his career. But only time will tell, right? But again, this is why I love this right now, because we as a whole can be able to talk football, we can talk sports, and be able to be like, yes, this is what can be done, and this is how we can do this. Now, as I leave you all, I want you all to be able to follow me here on social media. I will post my social media on here at the bottom. Have any questions or concerns, you can send an email. I will leave my email address as well at angermanagement210 at gmail.com. Ask me any kind of question that you'd want. As a group, I do think that when it comes to football season as well, I'm going to be talking football with and I'll try to get the guys from the as well. We can be able to do that, but the 49er Power Hour is going to be just me, and if Aaron wants to come along as well, because he is also a 49er fan, we can be able to, again, talk sports. We can talk some of the games, certain things, any questions that you have. Follow the 49er web zone as well. I'll put the at theirs on here as well. And I want to thank you all again for listening. This is the 49er Power Hour. I am Sasha D. Robinson, and you all have yourself a good night tonight, or a good day today. Whatever you're watching, enjoy yourself. Remember, never doubt yourself. You never know what can and cannot happen.